listening to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Your hosts, Nate and John, cover their shared history with the band, discover new music together, and cover the farthest reaches of the Deep Purple family tree and beyond. Here's Nate and John now.
Welcome to the Deep Purple Podcast, a fan podcast devoted to one of the greatest bands in rock history, Deep Purple. Today's episode is episode number 303, album ranking Fireball. And coming to you from the suburbs of Chicago, where it's Restaurant Week, I'm your host, Nathan Beaudry.
And coming to you from the suburbs of Providence, I'm your co-host, John Flirty February Matola.
Oh, Flirty February?
Flirty February.
Do you go from just eating and exercising more and eating less to, maybe you're full of confidence because you led such a pure life in January? Is that how it goes?
No, I said, what did you think I said?
Flirty.
Yeah, flirty. I'm flirting.
Yeah, you're flirting with everyone because you're so confident because you just spent the last month working out and eating right.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I had to get off all the, just all these hashtags are all about like fitness and improving yourself. I want one where it's just like,
February.
Yeah, that's how I flirt.
Well, I'm wondering if I should flirt. My new girlfriend might take offense to that.
Oh. Did you show anybody else that?
I showed my wife my new girlfriend. I showed you first and then my wife.
Oh, that was fantastic. That's just proof that sometimes AI just gets it right.
It's very, very infrequently, in my opinion. But
well, should we tell our listeners or?
Yeah, I don't. So I was wondering if I should show the actual pictures. I guess I could show them off of my phone because I'm trying to figure if I could screen share. But so I got the latest version of Photoshop, and in it there's all these stupid AI things. Some of them are actual AI. Some of them are like things that Photoshop has had for 20 years. They just call it AI now. But one of the things I was excited about is when I'm trying to use a picture of one of us for the show art, often it's a selfie and like part of the arms are cut off or whatever. So it looks goofy if I put it on the art and I have to draw some shading or whatever so that it looks like it's not cut off. So I said, maybe I can use it to generate the arm back so that it's like something that you'd be able to like actually see. And I wouldn't have to do all the work. So I did it with me first. And this is the album art for the episode we're actually looking at right now. And you see, it just drew this weird hand. I'm like extending a hand. I didn't say anything about a hand, but
like you're serving up like a platter of nothing.
Or yeah, exactly. Or I'm asking for money. So then it gives you three. It gives you three for each prompt. Then this one, it gave this kind of crummy looking cartoon fist, like I'm like, oh, feel the power. And then for the last one, it gave me this giant beefy arm with my sleeve all rolled up.
I love that one.
That one, yeah, it's like an arm that's like twice the size of my thigh, just sticking out of the side of my body. Now, so I said, well, that's not so great. Let me see about regenerating John's arms. So you see in the photo, John's cut off on both sides because he took the selfie 6 years ago. So I said, well, let me just regenerate those arms. So here's what I got for the first one. It just completely got rid of him. And it changed him into a lady who was just leaning on my shoulder. So which was a real surprise for me because I don't know how it got that from Generate Arms. Then it gave me this one. That's my new girlfriend. She's she's also leaning on my shoulder. And then generated this one, kind of an older, more mature lady. They're all wearing that like button-up blue shirt. She's got her hand on my shoulder and I got my arm around her.
It turned me into a vaguely Asian woman.
Yeah, like it's like they're kind of like ambiguously Asian women. Now I didn't show you this one. Hopefully this isn't a spoiler for an upcoming episode, but I thought, I'm gonna try this again. I'm still learning. I want to have John wearing a medieval crown.
Oh no!
Hopefully it's not too much of a spoiler. And this is what it gave me.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's just like it sees John and it's like, no, that should be a woman. That should be an ambiguously Asian woman. That should be an unambiguously black woman. Whatever it is, it just changes you into a woman. And then
why does AI think that I'm supposed to be like an ambiguously like ethnic woman?
I don't know. This is just supporting my theory that AI is garbage.
But it's brilliant, and it's brilliant now. Yeah. You're gonna have like a new co-host every week on the thumbnail, the album art.
But it's just funny to me because it's like, oh yeah, we'll give you an arm. Him, we're gonna get rid of him altogether and put somebody else.
Oh my god.
So anyway, yeah. So that might be in the show notes or the show art anyway because it's too good to throw away. But yeah, folks, thank you for joining us on this live stream episode.
Yes.
We're being joined by a good handful of our wonderful patrons that support the show. And just a reminder, our show is 100% listener supported and ad-free. You'll never hear an ad except this ad I just gave for the new Photoshop, although I don't think it's going to sell a lot of copies. No ads on our show. We don't put interstitial ads. We don't put them before and after the episode. We just ask our listeners that if you get some value from our show, if we keep you company while you're doing the chores, while you're driving to work, consider giving us some value back so we can put it right into the show to make it even better. You can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, buy some merch on our Etsy store, or become a patron on Patreon or on PayPal for as little as $1 a month. Check it out. All that information is in the show notes at our website, deeppurplepodcast.com. And if you're on YouTube, smash that like button and hit the super thanks down below. You can give us money that way. If you're a Deep Purple fan, you're probably too old to understand how that works because I don't understand how it works. Although we have some younger patrons. Maybe they can help us. Maybe the Sarahs and the Evans of the world and the Davies can all jump in and help us with how the hell that sort of thing is supposed to work.
Yes, please.
So speaking of patrons, at our executive level, we have at the in memoriam tier, the wonderful late Gerald, Jerry, Kelly, and family. At the $25 uncommon man tier, we have Ovis Nakfi. At the 15 squid tier, we have Alan. At the 10-pound good doctor tier, Dr. Mike Catan.
Somebody get me some doctor.
And at the turn it up to $11 tier, Clay Wambacher, Frank Thielgard Mortensen, Mikkel Steen, Will Porter, PhDPP, and Michael. Don't call him Bagford. Do call him Bagford. And he's joining us right now. So thank you so much. At the $10 someone came tier, Ryan M, Jeff Bryce, Victor Campos, Better Call Saul Evans. And Peter from Illinois. And at the Deep Thoughts by John Matola tier, we have Fielding Fowler.
And now, Deep Thoughts by John Matola.
Wait a minute. I lost it.
Thank you so much to all of you for your support of the Deep Purple podcast. All right. So we do have it's a little housekeeping here. We have something that I personally like to call Postcards from the Edge of Connecticut. And this one is not coming to us from Connecticut at all, but rather another me and you postcard from Florida.
Oh, who's rubbing it in our faces now?
Yeah, who's rubbing it? Well, I think it's the same person that did it last time. It says you, and it shows like a frozen human being and a bicycle all covered in snow, and then me, just beautiful Florida with the palm trees and everything. This one is dated the 16th of January. It says, Nate and John, last greetings from Florida for you. Have 2 episodes to catch up with for the drive back to New England. Should I bring your underwear to your folks' house? Peter, it was real nice. Actually, it looks like it says it was real mice. And it says, thinking of you from sunny Florida. Photo by John Gordash. I'd recognize his work anywhere. So thank you, Pete, who's on the chat right now, for the wonderful postcard. It's one of those big oversized ones too. So
sweet.
Yeah, right in there. So thank you. All right. So here we are, John. For those folks that aren't familiar with our rankings episodes, here's how it works. Format pretty much stolen from the generous guys at And the Podcast Will Rock. So we take a full album. We send it out to all of our patrons. So if you're a patron, you can join us on the live stream and submit your rankings. And what we do is have you rank all of the songs from first, your favorite song on the album, to the last song being your least favorite song on the album, and everything in between. We assign a point value. For example, there's 8 songs we're going to do today. If you rank it number 1, it gets 8 points. Number 2 gets 7 points. Number 3 gets 6 points, and so on and so on. And then calculate up what our patrons' favorite songs on the album are. And we go in order from favorite to favorite and read your, talk about the songs and then read your comments. That's simple enough. Does that make sense?
What? Yes. Yes.
Michael Bagford says, ratings, what the hell is that?
What the hell is that?
Oh, Nate, fix the audio.
What? Oh, shoot. There we go.
I was like messaging it to you so I didn't have to say it over the feed, but
no.
Fix the audio.
I just saw it I just saw your chat there, so sorry. I wish I could just make that be the default. Anyway, Zoom is not built like that. So here we are, ready to get into the Fireball episode. All right, should we just get right into it?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Right into it. That's what any podcaster says at the 30-minute mark. Let me pull up the spreadsheet, and had some help getting this one kind of organized here. But I got your rankings just moments ago, like 2 hours ago. And I think we're ready to go. So
I like it. You're the only one who is just like, I just send like a list of Deep Purple songs to you as a text with like no previous
context.
No context. And but I mean, you know what it was. And I was going to send it that early because I'm like, what if I feel differently in an hour? But I'm like, nope, I'm just going to send it off.
Is that your excuse for getting them in so late? You're like, oh, but I could change my mind.
Yeah. I think like maybe like a week ago, I was like, oh no, this one's going to be here. So I was even doing that before I sent it to you. I'm like, I'm going to move this one here. And I don't know.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by one of my rankings. I was like, screw it. I'll just leave it the way it is. Okay, so here we are, folks. Starting with the least favorite, the 8th track. Here we go.
Number 8.
All right, so this one is Anyone's Daughter. Coming in 8th, final place. I was a little surprised by this.
Me too.
Which is funny because, oh no, you didn't rank this last. You ranked this. No. So you ranked this 6th and I ranked it 5th. So we were right about the same kind of ballpark, but a lot of last places from folks, which I didn't really expect. I thought this was kind of this is something that's probably remained in the set the most consistently, at least in recent years. So if I go to Anyone's Daughter here, so Michael, don't call him Bradford, says cool track that's out of left field. And I definitely, this one jumped out to me. This used to be my favorite Deep Purple album, like when I was a teenager, and I still really, really like it. But this one was kind of, the last thing you'd really expect from Deep Purple, like a very, like, almost, I don't know, it's almost country. It's almost like a country style song.
There we go. Yeah.
You've got this very, like, kind of plodding piano and this slide guitar, although it's very, like, very reverberated slide guitar. So are you able to hear the song? I'm just playing it very quietly. So
yeah, I hear it a little bit in the background. A little ambiance. Little ambience.
So yeah, that's track 8. So what else do we have on this one? We have nice little song, good change of mood from the rest of the album from Victor Campos. Blackmore Tight says the Marmite song. I don't know why he calls it the Marmite song. Do they talk about Marmite in the song? So anyway, he says the Marmite song, explanation pending.
Okay.
I love it, and I love the fact that they did it live in '93 on Blackmore's last tour. Like, the rest of this album seems to have Gillan's personality on it more than any other member. Yeah, so it's kind of, that's, I think, the other thing about it is it kind of tells like a funny sort of story. They don't, Deep Purple doesn't have like a ton of straight story songs, and this one's like just a story song. It tells kind of like a comical tale of basically Ian Gillan screwing all the daughters in the town, which is very Gillan.
Yeah.
So, what else do we have here? Scott says, along with the mule, there is a certain nostalgia with the song, but I love that they did something different and fun. If you listen really closely, you can hear the metronome at the beginning, which is interesting because they didn't record to a click back then. Saul Evans says, even a piss take country track is executed perfectly. Raf Calf says this one is fun, but it doesn't really capture Purple for me. I suppose Richie would have liked this to be a fun little jam, not to be included on the album, but what do I know? But, you know, the rule in Deep Purple is everyone has to agree unanimously to be able to play it live, and he played it live, so he must have liked it to some degree.
Yeah.
Lord Longford says, feels harsh to put this so low down, but it's up against great tracks. I thoroughly enjoy this. It's different, and the lyrics are brilliant and perfectly delivered. Arthur Smith, bit of an outlier in the Purple catalog. And then he talks about how it was, he's surprised it passed Richie's quality control when he refused to do When a Blind Man Cries on the next album, which is kind of interesting, right? He refused to do that live, but he would do this live. Anders Engstrom says, I like it at first, but when you heard it 50 times, the text is not so funny anymore. And that is a problem with like novelty songs. Like sometimes they're kind of funny for 1 or 2 times, and then you just kind of get sick of them. Joe Sigler saying he thinks they did this with Morris in '94. Quite possible. I'm going to look it up.
I think we did during one of the shows that we watched. We saw them do this one.
Oh yeah, we saw them. What year was that? It could have been this tour, because this was kind of almost a continuation of the. Well, let's see. Is this? Nope, that's Switzerland. This is a continuation of the tour they did with the Blackmore, sort of, more or less, I guess. So it's possible that they did it at that show. Oh, he's got it. Oh, he sent us his review from the tour. So he's got, yep, it's in there. So Joe's review from '94 from the Highway Star. Very nice. Yeah, so there it is, number 8.
Yeah, well, you didn't, what's your
Oh, I didn't tell my.
No, I didn't either.
Oh no, I did at the beginning.
Oh,
I gave it a 5, and you gave it a 6.
yeah.
It was
I
your
yeah, it
sixth
was like,
favorite, my 5th.
yeah, it is up against some other songs that I guess I like better, but I do like the novelty of it. It's definitely I definitely consider it part of the album. It definitely fits in. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it kind of reminds me of how like on Toys in the Attic, Aerosmith did big 10-inch record, and that kind
Oh
of
yeah,
stuck
yeah.
out like a sore thumb in the same way, but somehow in the entirety of the album it works.
Hmm.
So, and I like this one because it's so different. And it's really melodic. You got some good stuff from Blackmore, and it just sounds like they're jamming and having a good time. I just think that these guys had such chemistry in the early days that whatever they wrote, it could have been super heavy or like this, and it made sense.
It's yeah, and it closes out the first side of the album, so it's a very kind of weird departure, and then goes right into more up tempo rocking stuff after that when you flip the record over.
Mhm.
It is worth noting at this point we have 8 songs, but anyone who's paying attention probably notices there's generally only 7 songs on this album. The original European release included Demon's Eye, whereas the North American and Japanese release had Strange Kind of Woman in its place. So I included both songs for everyone to rank because
That's
the original is Demon's Eye, but I don't think you can even get the original version anymore. I think everything subsequently has included Strange Kind of Woman, and maybe Demon's Eye is a bonus track or something. So just in case anyone's shouting at their podcast that there's only 7 songs on that album. We usually try to stick to the original release, but since Strange Kind of Woman is such a important
not
song
have
in the
it.
catalog, it's hard to leave that one out.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have left it out.
And and it'll be interesting to get that perspective from our British listeners and from our North American listeners as to where do they lean more towards Demon's Eye or Strange Kind of Woman, whether they grew up with Demon's Eye and maybe don't like Strange Kind of Woman as much, or whatever it might be. Okay. So next track up.
Number 7.
So this one is a little track called The Mule. Coming in in 7th place. So you ranked this 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And I, for anyone that's paying close attention, would not be surprised, ranked it number 8.
Yeah, I could have. I knew this was going to be the last one for you.
Yeah, if I was ranking all the Deep Purple songs, this would be towards the bottom for me. And yeah, I think we've talked about it a lot before, but it's just, for me, is just a little bit tedious, the song. And I love it live when they do the drum solo, but for me, it's just when they do this for a minute and a half, it's not bad. When you do it for 5 minutes, it's a little much.
I don't know. I like the atmosphere that it gives. I like it's different. It's another kind of different song they built around this great drum thing from Ian Pace, and it's just the lyrics and the melody are just very, just gives you this uneasy feeling, and the song's about, like he says, Lucifer and stuff, so it's kind of evil, but not in a Sabbathy kind of way, and I don't know. I think it's really cool. I like it. It's like I know it's like in the middle here, but it's in my top 4 because I always really liked it.
Yeah, and it's written about the character from the book Foundation by Isaac Asimov, and I would have been reading that book around the time I got into this album, and I didn't care much for the book, and I don't care much for the song.
Well,
it was like the first in like a 12-book series, and I read like 4 books in, and I was like, why am I doing this? But But yeah. So it comes in 7th place for our comments from listeners. Where are we? The Mule. Michael Bagford says, this is fine, but definitely prefer the live versions of the studio. This goes on for too long at 5 minutes. Totally agree. Victor Campos, the same topic of repetitiveness. What was going on with the band at this point? Drums doing the same thing over and over again is not pleasant. Only served as a segue to Pace's solo in the 70s. Nothing more. This part's cool, though. Black Moa Tights says if he's getting rid of one song from the album, this would be it. Scott Haskin saying this is a Christmas song for him. I used to listen to it in my room with just Christmas lights on. There's something about the light phaser that creates a great mood. I know it isn't your favorite, Rat. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool effects and cool. To me, it just kind of it comes across as one of those things like, Roback says Nate doesn't know his head from his Asimov. Yeah, to me, it's like one of those, much like, and I know I talked about this 300 something episodes ago when we did the album originally, but it's based on Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles, which I also don't like and is also sacrilege in Beatles circles. It's kind of sacrilege in Purple circles, not like the Mule. But I don't like it for the same reasons, where it's just like this has vibes of screwing around in the studio, and maybe you should have just left it at that. Well, we've all been guilty of that.
Sure,
you get a new toy, you play with it. Oh, look, it made a funny noise. Let's put it in the album, and then you're like,
yeah.
But okay, what else do we got here from comments? Raf Calf says this is one of the top 3 for him. I should note, I don't think I've did it for the previous track, but if I look across the board here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people ranked it last. Nobody ranked it first, but we got some people that put it in 2nd and 3rd place.
Close enough.
And Raf Calf is one of those. Arthur Smith says, I'm quite fine to this one. Unpopular opinion, I suspect. Great showcase for Pacey. Of course, Arthur Smith is a drummer. Scott Haskin is a drummer. The drummers love this one. Anders Engstrom taking a different approach, saying that he likes the studio version better than the live versions with the drum solo. Stuart McCord, pretty good studio track, but I think it worked much better live. Karsten Lau says, besides the drums, it's boring. And I guess that's kind of how I feel about the melody line of it. And it just kind of goes like on, and it's something about it just, I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. Joe Sigler bringing up Echoes by Floyd. That's a good, it's actually kind of a interesting take on this one. Kai Runa is saying, I listened to the record before we started the show. When the Mule came to the last minute, the wife left the room.
Oh, well.
Yes.
Can't win them all.
And Pete Gardo says, it's no Muskrat love.
Oh, Pete.
Keeping up with the timely episode references. Ivan Fjellbu says, yawn and yawn again. I don't hate the song, but I can easily place it as my least favorite on the album. It's boring. The beginning of it sounds 60s-like and dates it a lot. So maybe my opinion is not so out there.
No.
Sick Tone says, syncopation, bit trippy song. I love the Made in Japan live version with all the odd sounding leads and amazing work by Pacey. Okay. What's next? Let's see what our lovely assistant says.
Number 6.
Number 6 is Demon's Eye.
Ooh.
And this is, for me, I always think of this as the new song. Because for me, I always had the Strange Kind of Woman version. No, this is Scott Haskin is asking if the woman from the picture that I showed earlier is the one doing the voice. The one doing the voice is a real human being. All right, so this one, where is the spreadsheet here? You ranked this number 3.
Yeah.
All right. So you're digging this one.
Well, what did you rank?
I ranked it number 7.
Oh, Nate.
But I would say a distant 7 from the distance between 7 and 8 for me is large.
Yeah, no, I heard this. I first heard this song out of context from the album because I heard on Deepest Purple, so the compilation. So I always thought it was I didn't know who was singing it. I know that I've said that before. I think that it was because I was like, okay, so there's Gillan, there's Coverdale, and some other guy singing who I thought was Gillan, and then I heard this, and I was like, oh, there's like a third guy, because it was just Gillan singing a different register, but I wasn't used to it because I think I'd only heard like in rock, so more of the high stuff. But I mean, I think this is just a great rock song. It's very mid-tempo, very chill. Like I never like skip it when it comes on.
Yeah, it's good. It's got a really cool groove to it for sure.
Yeah.
So
why so low for you?
What?
Why so low for you? You said 7, right? You ranked it 7?
I don't know. I think I like so many of the other songs just a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But I really dig this one. We did have one person give it a first place finish, and that was Mr. Jonathan Hedlund.
Oh, all right, Johnny.
And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8th place finishes from Zwapper, Runar, Steve Coldwell, Joe Sigler, Graham Bonnet's Disco Pants and Haircuts, and Michael Bagford. Wait, is that Michael Bagford? No, not Michael Bagford, sorry. Yeah, Michael Bagford, sorry. These aren't lining up right. So Joe Sigler rated this number 2, so a big... It's got that, it's got a really dirty, sludgy sort of tempo and feel to it. And it's a really great that, how it opens with just that little octave thing on the keyboard. I wonder what he's playing on this. Is it like an organ? It sounds like a really...
I don't know, but I think it was a pretty cool effect, and you have very classic kind of Ritchie guitar sound, guitar groove.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like this because there's just, Ritchie's groove can fit in so good in a song like this. Like you play like fast and do all that. You can do a lot of crazy stuff too, but it's like when he locks into a groove like this, it's just, you love listening to it. And yes, to answer Pete's question, I believe they did play this Mohegan Sun when we went to see them.
Really? I don't know if they played this when I saw them on this tour, but
there was the long goodbye tour.
Yes. That leg of the long goodbye tour. I don't remember them playing it anyway.
But yes, it's very possible they did.
Yeah, but
honestly, I can't remember too many Deep Purple shows that I've seen, like not with like a whole group of you guys. Like it almost seems like that was, I mean, it was ages ago, 2019. Oh yeah, Pete remembers. I was happy. See, so I do like it. It is a number 3.
He's confirmed it. Well, we can.
He's like, everybody, John was happy. Oh, okay.
Well, Peter does have a really good... Peter can bring up references from shows we did 5 years ago that
True.
We have no memory of, so I'm trusting him. He listens. He pays attention to the nonsense that we put out there. So, yeah, that's Demon's Eye. The next track up before our quick little break. Let's take a listen.
Number 5.
What do you know about that?
I'm kind of shocked here. 5.
Yeah. Kind of crazy, right? I was expecting this one to finish maybe even first. But yeah, there you have it. Strange Kind of Woman. So interesting that those two songs, and Demon's Eye got 137 points. Strange Kind of Woman, 161 points.
All right, so where did we rank it?
So we ranked it. You gave Strange Kind of Woman a 2. And I gave it a 4.
Jeez, I was going back and forth between putting it first.
Yeah.
But I decided I was gonna, put it down to number 2. This is just like another one. This is just another kind of like really melodic, just a great rock song. It's got that great bridge in the middle where it just showcases Gillan's voice, and and then just this really just great melodic solo. I think just the song all around is good. I mean, this is just like great early Mark II. Best way I can put it, and this song is great. It's very, I don't know, very accessible.
Yeah. And it's one I hear sometimes like on the radio at work and stuff. Like I'll hear this and Space Truck and Highway Star, Smoke on the Water, obviously.
And I mean, of course, the live versions too, in the early days when they would do the breakdown and, Blackmore and Gillan would dual vocal and guitar with the do-do-do-do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is just another great, when I first, usually like that extended, long drawn out stuff. But I mean, when I saw that on Denmark 72, like everything they did in that show, I just loved it. It was like, and it's very rare for me too to like all that kind of like that baloney that people do when they stretch out live songs, it's like, but man, that stuff just that stuck with me. That was because I was just watching like the masters at work,
Oh yeah, no, that was great. I feel like my first time hearing that would have been on Nobody's Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And strangely not made in Japan. But I remember that and thinking it was awesome, and then the stuff they do on a Highway Star and stuff. And yeah, you're right. That stuff is usually kind of baloney. But they managed to do it and fit it in every night and still make it seem somehow interesting and fresh, because they, depending on what mood they're in that night, one of them tries to throw the other one off or throw something different in or whatever it is. But this one got a few first place finishes. Victor Campos put it in first place. Karsten Lau, the Roback, all put it in first place. Not a lot of last place finishes, but Scott Haskin put it last place.
Oh, Scott.
And Hank the Tank.
Hank,
Scott.
Mona, Samantha.
But yeah. Scott said, something had to be last. I mean, it's true. So that's a Strange Kind of Woman. And
any explanations?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Any Strange comments on these?
So what do we got on this one? I'm out of practice. Strange Kind of Woman. Here it is. Michael Bagford's nice addition to the US release. Victor Campos, classic Deep Purple. I love Richie's solo, one of his best sounds. It sounds composed. Once you mentioned how Smoke on the Water solo has unique property to it, I believe Strange Kind of Woman also does. Saul Evans says, enjoy this single, but the Made in Japan version kills it. Sick Tone says, strangely getting tired of this song. Used to like it more when I was young. Adam Cork says, love the track, but the live version's edge over this. Kenny Wymore, sometimes my number one for this album. Great swagger. Hank the Tank, who ranked this last, says, this song I do not have on my copies. Again, the Made in Japan version is so good. And have you heard the versions from New York, May 1973? I know I've heard that bootleg before, mostly I think because they do Mary Long on it. I'll have to dig that one up. Jonathan says it's good, kind of random old rocking. Steve Coldwell says, at what point in the history of rock music did lyricists realize that paying for sex really didn't sound that cool? I like this one, but something has to be last, and this is the one that feels most like they're moving backwards instead of forwards. Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, you're a rock star. You shouldn't have to pay for it. John's agnostic on it.
You know, I mean,
sometimes
you want to pay for it. Go ahead.
You want to.
Or you got to.
Yeah, it's more like got to. Usually, want to. I didn't have to pay for that, but I'm going to.
Well, you just say, I want you, I need you, I gotta be near you. He gotta pay for it.
Yeah, he gotta. Yeah, sometimes you usually just pay for it with burning sensation when you pee. But
that's a different paying.
I'm paying for it. You want? Mark Robeck says, you want to pay for it. Great song title.
Oh boy.
Versa. Reminds me of the old, Frank Zappa song. Why does it hurt when I pee? All right. What other comments do we got here before we wrap up this segment? Will Porter, difficult to score within the context of the album, being a UK listener, so can only place it somewhere in the middle. This and Demon's Eye are neck and neck in my rankings, and apparently in most people's rankings. Rich Shaler says, suffers a little from fatigue. Heard it so many times that I rarely go to it by choice, but giving it a fresh listen, it is a great song. Ivan says, I have never really liked Strange Kind of Woman. When I hear it, I get unwillingly, I assure you, an association to Swedish dance bands, Dansband, from the 70s and 80s that my parents loved. Musically, I find it rather boring. The lyrics are fine, the performance solid as always, but there's something about it that annoys me. Maybe the tempo and melody line. All right. So that, and then Duncan Lease says, sonically, it sticks out like a sore thumb, a bit like Sleeping on the Job some years later. It turned out well and had a great live shelf life. This again has the pop and throwaway of Fireball. So yeah, so there's like definitely a divide, and I think it's hard to not have your history with the album be flavored by whether or not you associate this album or this song or Demon's Eye on this place in the album. It's definitely a very different vibe from that song too. Just so weird that back in the day they would do stuff like that, like just we'll give Demon's Eye to the North Americans, the Japanese, they won't be able to handle it. Let's give them a song about prostitution.
The impersonation stuff with
like it's just so crazy to think how some of these weird decisions were made. Is it like like naming Ring That Neck Hard Road? Was it like, oh, the Americans will never go for something with the word demon in it? Let's do a song about a prostitute instead. And wasn't the original title for the song Prostitute, if I remember correctly? Which is
that would have never made it.
Hilariously subtle. All right, here's a song for you. This
Hilarious.
one's about a prostitute. It's called Prostitute.
Yeah, well, maybe it wouldn't have been Mark III and Mark IV. That wouldn't be a stretch.
No, not at all. Yeah. With his Weird Al version of Highway Star. If Weird Al was a pervert instead of obsessed with food.
Oh.
Exactly. Yeah. The Americans demand songs about prostitution.
Peter says my prostitute is not so good.
I just read that as my prostate is not so good.
Oh. Well, I mean, I don't know. Many people in the chat might be able to say that.
Yes, many of us. We're either at or getting to that age.
We
I'm
are
far too young.
We are Deep Purple fans after all.
Right. Okay, so we'll take a little break and thank some of our next round of patrons. Thank you to all of our patrons joining us live on the live stream and chat. I don't think I mentioned earlier, but as a patron, you get access to join us on live streams, submit your rankings. You have access to our rating spreadsheet, and you can join us on the patrons only Discord, filled with great people, great conversation, mostly about Deep Purple. We have some really good stuff about, sharing other music that we're into and just other weird random conversations. So join along. You can also sign up for one of our music leagues. We do a few of those music leagues where we have a number of rounds. You submit songs, get points. It's a fun thing. I always do very poorly. I don't really look at the scores though. It's more interesting just kind of picking the songs and going through them myself. So, all right. So next level of patrons is, if I can find it on these show notes, our core level patrons coming in at the $6.99 new nice price tier. We have Spike the Rock Cat and Sugar Tea. At the $6.66 tier, we have Steve Coldwell, Arthur Smith,
Getting support from the patron Arthur Smith.
Anton Glaving,
Pain in the glaving.
and Charles Meadows. Coming in at the $6.65 almost evil tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Richie Sucksmith. At the 70 Norwegian kroner tier, we have Kai Rona. Yes, I'm Norwegian Olsen. At the $5.99, the nice price tier, Robert Smith and Carl Hellberg. At the 60 kroner Scandinavian Nights tier, we have DJ Newt Morton Johansson. Yeah, more to come about this. So I was watching Conan O'Brien the other night. Have you seen that show where he travels?
No, I didn't think anybody would be still watching Conan O'Brien in 2025. I didn't think he'd be around this long.
He is, but he's got this great show. It's where he had a show. There were two shows with two different names, but the latest one, I don't even remember what it's called. But anyway, he goes to a country and just does his Conan thing. The most recent one was he traveled to can't find anything because all my shortcuts are gone. This is no good. But anyway, he travels to Norway and he meets a guy named Kai, like our patron, but he does a bunch of Norwegian things. He dresses up like a Viking. He does axe throwing. He just, he does silly Conan stuff, and it's amazing. I highly recommend anyone check it out. At the $5 money lender tier, we have John Convery, German Heindel, Adrian Hernandez, Alexei the Perfect Stranger Slepakov, Kev Roberts, Percival Frequency, Scott Zern, Cynthia Doobie, Raf Calf.
My Czechoslovakian is not so good.
Coyote Bongwater. John Maselli.
That's me, Mr. Goodmop.
Kelly Clarkson.
No, Kelly Clarkson!
I did it. Sarah Sanders.
Our new patron, Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah, I wish.
Uh,
Kelly Clarkson joining us at the Nate and John Can Retire tier. Jelly Bean, Evan Robinson, Richard Fusey, and Purple Swede.
Swede?
I feel like every week I almost call her Kelly Clarkson, and this time it finally happened.
yeah.
Sorry, Sarah. I almost
You're
called
also,
her Kelly.
you're also assuming that if Kelly Clarkson was a patron, she'd donate enough where we could retire. Like, we don't know. I mean, she could be a cheap fuck.
Yeah, I'd be like the real Sarah Sanders is at the $5 tier, and Kelly Clarkson comes in at the $1 tier, and she makes up a fake name. Doesn't even use Kelly Clarkson.
Or maybe it's like Kelly Clarkson, but she spells it with like Clarkson with like a K.
Or Q. Clarkson.
Sure.
Oh, Kelly Clarkson. Okay. So here we are. We're up to song number 4 as we head up the list, and here we go.
Number 4.
This one is No, No, No.
Mhm.
But I say yes, yes, yes. Actually, I guess I don't. I ranked this at 6th, and you ranked it as 8th.
Mm-hmm.
8th place. So what do you so what's your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I have to say, just like with, I think it was probably more difficult with, in rock. But I mean, there's no bad songs in this album. There's just, as we keep saying, something's got to be last. So
Yeah.
this one I just found the least remarkable, or the least one that I would go back to. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff with this song, but I just think that it's I don't know. I guess the way that most people were kind of ragging on the Mule for being kind of like repetitive or droning or whatever. I kind of feel like that about this song. Is I just feel like it just kind of goes on and on and on for a while. It doesn't really was never really one of my go-tos.
That's fair. Yeah, again, I put it in 6th place, and so yeah, my 7th and 6th and 5th are all way ahead of my 8th, personally.
Mhm.
But this one is like, to me, I really like that like
Oh yeah, it's
that
really
whole-
cool.
very funky, and it reminds me kind of like they do like a similar thing with that intro to Never Before on the next album, where
Yeah.
they do kind of like a funky quasi reggae funk little intro to the song, and it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But a standard sort of little weird ethereal sounding bridge section here in the song, and yeah, I like this one. I know this one's kind of one of those ones. I know they did this on like German TV or something, which is an odd track to pick, but that's one of those videos that always I see in my recommended all the time. Classic Pilgrim Hat Richie. All right, so let's hear what our patrons had to say. Should have our patrons record these so I don't have to read them.
Yeah,
Or
right?
am I just getting lazy?
Yeah, that. Well, no, I'd say you're anything but lazy. I mean, you do all the heavy lifting around here, so I just show up.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe I should read them.
Maybe you could.
No, you don't.
No, you do it. I'm busy. Adam Cork says, not a bad track, just unremarkable apart from RG's bass lines. Kenny Weimar says this gets stuck in his head a lot. Hank the Tank, I used to like this, still do, of course. But some song has to be number 7, right? Still a bloody great one. It's like, I used to like this, I still do. It's like that Mitch Hedberg. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too. Johnny Headland says, no, nah, no. Instrumental bits are nice and chill, but the sung parts are weak and non-engaging. This comes in at jumbo. Well, I don't know what that means. I should ask him. I think he's messaging me right now. Steve Coldwell says, this has become my favorite grooving around the kitchen while cooking dinner song. I don't know how beloved or not this one is in the Purple catalog, but I dig everything about it, especially listening to a couple of absolute virtuosos, proving that a great solo doesn't always require an overwhelming flurry of notes. Yeah, that's a good point. Like they've got this kind of low key back and forth going, but it's not as frantic as sometimes it is. Robert Smith, always love this track and never tire of hearing this one. It's my favorite on the album. Rich says simply great groove. I agree. Another Peter Gardot also, he says great funky groove. So you added a word there. Duncan Leask, first signs of a new direction for Da Boys. Lowest rank of my best of from this album. Mark says, despite going on a bit long, this one at least has a nice variety of stuff going on. Lyrics are kind of lame. They had just enough studio effects on the guitar such that it didn't get annoying. Nice scream by Gillan. Joe Sigler says, while I like the beat of the song in general, it never feels like it gets going. It's stuck in an overly long, low gear. The song is titled, well, no, no, no. I was hoping somebody wouldn't like it so they would do that. But then I was also hoping for this, which is Lord Longford saying, yes, yes, yes. Wonder how many other people will write that. I think one other one. Saul Evans says, yes, yes, yes. So fucking cool. John Lord solo is heaven. Yeah. There you go. There you have it. Victor Campos says, no, no, no. Overstays its welcome as it gets repetitive quickly. So kind of tapping into what you were saying. The rankings for this one are, we had 4 people rank in 8th place, including you. And then we had 2 people rank it first. And that would be Robert Smith and Steve Coldwell. And a couple of 2s thrown in there. Saul Evans, Karsten Lau, Kev Roberts, Sick Tone, Saul Evans. This is, I remember when I first started getting into Deep Purple and listening at Paul's house. Yeah. We would listen to this, In Rock, and Machine Head predominantly.
Oh, yeah.
And Who Do We Think We Are? So basically all the original run of the Mark II albums. And I always got confused and thought, because this is the second song on this album, and then Bloodsucker is the second song on In Rock. So I always thought Bloodsucker was called No, 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 because he says no, no, no in it as well. So I guess he likes saying no, no, no on the second track of an album, for what that's worth. Okay. So that's no, no, no. So now, are we ready for the top 3, John?
Let's do it.
Pacey, drum roll, please. I'll put that in post. All right. No, I won't. You know I won't. Okay, here we go.
Number 3.
That's right, folks. Fools. And a nice, unassuming start to the song. And no surprise by somebody who ranked this number 1, and that would be Mr. Scott Haskin. For those of you that aren't familiar with his Roger Glover Fool story, he told... Oh, he didn't know. I think he told it on the episode of his show that we were on many years ago.
I mean, I've heard him tell it in person too.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, you can maybe thank Scott Haskin for Fools being on their set in, I don't know, what year was that, Scott? 2000.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know the story well, so at this point I can't remember where I've heard it.
98, he says. Okay, so the Abandoned tour, if I remember correctly, he I should paste it in from that episode here, but he goes backstage, he sees Roger, and he says, "You guys should play Fools." And Roger says, "How does that one go?" He couldn't remember it. And so Scott tells him, he's like, "Oh yeah." And then he said the next time he saw them live, they were playing it live. So
Scott likes to think he had a hand in that. Maybe he did.
The way you said that, it sounds like you're doubting him.
Oh, no, I don't.
But it's hilarious that you'd be like, could you sing a few bars of that one? I don't remember it. I think this one is it's one of those things that when this part kicks in, it's just so good. It's such a good song. So I ranked this third. You ranked it seventh.
Yeah.
That was probably our most divergent score right there.
Well, one of them, yeah. I think a lot of them on this one are. It almost has a who do we think we are divergence in them.
Yeah, a little.
We're going in different directions on everything. What? Come on.
So what is your
what's my beef with Fools?
Yeah, what's your beef? Why are you such a fool?
Why am I such a Fools hater? I'm not a hater on anything.
Scott is a fool for fools, and you're also a fool for fools.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I love about this song. I think the intro is good. I think that the solo is good. You know, Richie's like faux cello solo where he's doing the volume swells and everything.
I wonder if this was when he was taking cello lessons or if that came later. I know he was like the cello player in ELO was giving him cello lessons at one point. So there's a great picture of him like riding a bicycle with a cello on his back. Like, I'm late to my cello lessons. He's gonna have my ass if I show up late.
Oh.
So yeah. So what's the
story? There really is no story. It's one of the. I mean, out of all the songs, I had to. Excuse me. I probably should have used the cough switch for that.
Oh, the sneeze switch.
Or the sneeze, whatever it is. So yeah, I think like Fools, No. I just kind of lump them together. They're kind of like sister songs where they just kind of go on for a while. You know, they're kind of this kind of slower tempo song that I don't really go to as much. Like I think as you get higher up, those are the songs where if I have this album on or they come on a playlist, I'll listen to them more often. This one, not as much. But that being said, I think the elements that I mentioned were some of the things that I love about Deep Purple. Like the intro, the solo section, it's just very, very different kind of stuff. I mean, I can't take anything away from the song. It's just, I have it down lower than some of the ones that I like better.
Yeah, this is.
And I always picture like Richie just like with his eyes closed, rocking back and forth, just, with the bow going like this.
Or the classic Take the Money and Run, where Woody Allen is playing the cello in the marching band. He has to run and set up his chair and play cello for a second, and then run and catch up with everybody.
I just think that this makes me laugh because it's just like I feel like when I picture Richie doing that, I laugh because it's just like I feel like Richie taking himself so seriously about this is funny.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, this part is a little probably like self-indulgent, right? You've got like just like a very boom, like the bass drum and the snare and somebody doing the shakers. Because it's so stripped down. It's like that. It's that standard Deep Purple low tempo thing for a solo part, but it takes it to an extreme so that it's maybe a little much.
Yeah, but that being said, I still think it's I don't know if the word groundbreaking is right, but I don't know. I just think I think that this part is really great. I mean, I look at it from both ways. Like I can kind of laugh at it being like, Richie wearing that pilgrim hat and trying to be so serious, like, oh, I'm a cello player. I'm gonna make my guitar sound like a cello. But it's like,
I'm a cello player now.
yeah, it's like, oh, now I play cello. What do you think of that, everybody?
It's like
But
it's like the equivalent of Ingve being like, I don't listen to guitar players. I listen to Paganini or whatever.
yeah, exactly. It's just
I'm
it's so
too good. And I don't think Richie was at that. Like, I think Ingve took it to like the way above where it needed to be, but Richie had like a slight bit of being pretentious there, whereas Ingve is just a flat out liar. I don't listen to guitar players. Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, you listen to it and you're like, all right, this is really cool. So it's fun in both respects. But
yeah, and maybe that down tempo part is just like a little too long. It was like trying to go for like a Pink Floyd sort of thing, but they're just not a Pink Floyd sort of band. If they do instrumental stuff, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's probably the only part of the song that to me is just a little, it's like a little extra, but I still really love the song because I love the riff and the verse part so much.
yeah.
But there you go. So we've got, I don't forget, did we go through all the rankings?
No.
Here? We didn't, no. Okay, so we got Scott giving it a first place, Raf Kaff number 1, Anders Engstrom first, Kev Roberts, Ivan Fjellbu, Jeff Bryce, Zwapper, and Hank the Tank, all ranking it first. One last place finish, and that's from Richard Brees. And a few 7s. Scott is letting everybody know that Discogs has 2,635 copies of Fireball available for sale right now. So if for some reason you don't have this one, sounds like it's a buyer's market.
Wow.
I keep getting these things from my wish list or my save list on Discogs. It's that what the hell is the name of it? I get 65 emails a day about it. That why am I blanking out at the name of the album? But anyway, they send me the album and it'll be like, we've got a version that's in very good condition for $8, and we've also got a version that's in very good condition for $140. Like this, just all over the place what people think they're going to get for records. It's crazy. Oh, that's a good point. Joe Sigler asking if they have any on reel to reel. You get every copy, get reel to reel, the 8-track version. Okay, second place.
Number 2.
Here we are. No One Came. So, thankfully, people came to our live stream.
Someone came to our live stream.
Someone came. Isn't that? I think that's the whole point of the song, right? They're like, what if you did a concert and just no one showed up?
This is another storytelling.
I kind of like his, his spoken parts and like, oh, it's funky, when he says that stuff, it's great. But you ranked this 5th, and I ranked this 1st. This is number 1 for me.
Explain yourself.
I got some splaining to do. I don't know. I just love this. I love the chorus. I love that like just offbeat. It's great. I like the story aspect of it. I like the weird backwards guitar. I just think it's a cool grooving song, and as a closer for an album, I think it's great. And it does this Gillan talking pattern that we'll see again and again over the years, where he does kind of like a little rapping sort of thing, which sometimes works better than others. And in this particular time, I think works really well.
Yeah, I like this one too. I mean, it's a little below like the middle rankings for me. I mean, I could have, like I said before, I mean, I could have flip-flopped this with the Mule. I think it's another one like Like No No No, or you know, just one of those songs that's a little different with the verse. But then you have Richie's solo is more of like a typical Richie. Um, yeah, I think it has like pretty good groove to it. But again, it's another album track for me. I liked it when they played it live on that show that we watched from like what, about 10 years ago.
Yeah, when was it from? Which tour was it?
I can't remember, but we did a live watch recently where it was from like 2014, I think.
Oh, yeah. The Rising Sun, Setting Sun ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this one is good, but I'm gonna have to hide behind the something has to come fifth.
Yeah. Well, it's true. Pete's saying that the pastor at his church talked about a time that he did a funeral and no one showed up. That's extremely depressing.
So,
unless you just live so long that you outlive everyone else that would possibly know you.
True.
Which is also depressing. So, never mind.
So what are some of the feedback on this one?
What are patrons saying about No One Came? Let's see here. Gonna go over to the end here, the last song. So Michael Bagford, my favorite off the album, reminds me of my open mic night days when I played drums and my friend who played guitar sang. Also, the lyrics are pretty funny. The best among the repetitive songs on the album from Victor Campos. Blackmore Tights says, my favorite DP song of all time. Hey-o! Love it. Gillan's lyrics is brilliant and entertaining. The riff is simple but effective. The perfect song for me, and made even better by Steve Morse's live versions. Awesome. Saul Evans writes, is this the first rap song? I do not think it is.
I thought that was Rapper's Delight.
Well, it depends who you ask. Rapper's Delight is sometimes considered, but I've also heard some people say that Sgt. Pepper is the first rap song because of the way that Paul McCartney does the lyrics. But I also have a song from the 40s that I think is the first rap song.
Wow, we're digging deep.
Yeah, maybe I'll put that one in the exit. It's like a religious song about Noah's Ark, but these guys kick some serious ass. I'm sorry, some serious butt.
Yeah.
It's a religious song. Mark Roback saying Trouble from the Music Man. We also have, so is this the first rap song? Great song with one of the most simple yet catchy riffs. Nice groove from Sick Tone. Adam Cork says pretty unremarkable. Kenny Wymore, I love the way this one just slams into the main riff. Also, Gillan's sort of cocky delivery proves that he can be damn funky, from Kenny Wymore. Hank the Tank, love the opening and love the false end. I agree. I think that false ending is awesome. Great Mark II song. Swapper, self-reflecting fun. Jonathan Headland says, a heavy and fun song that, however, does come off a bit. We got Hendrix at home. Runar says, it's just funky. Gotta move to this. Steve Coldwell says, this is where it gets tough. Depending on the time of day, I could put No One Came ahead of The Mule or vice versa. And for many of the same reasons. But that opening riff gets stuck in my head a lot. And it's got my favorite Gillan vocals and lyrics on the album.
See, Steve said the same thing I did.
Yep. Rich says, probably one of my all-time favorite Deep Purple songs. It has so much power, and that bass just drives the song. So if we go to the overall rankings, No One Came got ranked first place by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 patrons. Runar Simonson, Will Porter, founding Hall of Fame member Rich Shaler, Peter Gardeau, Duncan Leask, Stuart McCord in order on the patrons list. Lord Longford, Blackmore Tights, Victor Campos, and me. Only one last place finish from Mark Roback, and a quadfecta of sevens from Sick Tone, Kai Runa Olsen, Saul Evans, and Saul Evans. So, all right. Well, what on earth could be the number one song on Fireball, John? Is the suspense killing you?
Yep.
We may never know. Let's see.
Number 1.
This isn't a song. That's just an air conditioner. Oh, it's Fireball off of the album Fireball, the titular Fireball.
It's not a surprise.
No, it's a pretty handy first place too, if I recall correctly. Let's check out these. Yeah, No One Came, got 183 points. Fireball 217.
Oof.
Everything from Strange Kind of Woman to No One Came was all within like 20 points, and then you just get this huge 30-point jump.
Yeah.
To Fireball. So
yeah, well, I mean, Fireball's on another level.
It's so good. I ranked this one second place. You ranked it first place. And then obviously a lot of other people ranked it first. Richard Brees, Saul Hamilton Evans, Arthur Smith, Graham Bonnet's Disco Pants and Haircuts, Joe Sigler, Kenny Wymore, Adam Cork, Kai Runa Olsen, and I said Saul Evans already. So yeah, one person ranked it last. Sick Tone.
Wow.
And two seventh places, but a lot of seconds, thirds, fourths.
I'd be interested to hear why the lower ones ranked them lower.
Well, we're gonna have to get into that. Let's see. Fireball song, the album. Let's go to the end. Let's see what Sick Tone has to say. No words. It says no words, just one of the greatest DP songs. Wow. So maybe that was a mistake.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I get there. Oh, oops. Oh, so Sick Tone maybe made it. So maybe it was supposed to be even more decisively in first place. Saul Evans says, my entry to Purple top 5 songs. Adam Cork says, my entry into the band was via a copy of my sister's 24 Karat Purple, and this was such a standout. Kenny Wymore, strong leadoff track, sounds like a continuation of In Rock. Hank the Tank, like it a lot, just overplayed. But when I saw them in Sweden in 96 opening with this, could not believe it, and so freaking strong. Swapper simply says, a banger. Jonathan Headland says, classic proto speed metal. Runar Simonson, iconic drum intro. Steve Coldwell says, I know this is likely blasphemy, but it's fine. I get it, and I imagine it's a Gangbusters opener, but I've been listening to it a lot over the last few months, and I don't think I could hum a single riff or melody that stuck with me. So that might be the harshest criticism we've heard so far. Robert Smith, incredible drums by Ian Pace. Just one complaint, it's too short.
Wow. No, I think it's the perfect length.
Rich says, could easily have been number 1. Such power and energy. The dissonant solos set it apart. Yeah, is really cool. That. How was that? Ivan says, a powerful opening track, just fun and energizing. And is this the first speed metal track? Another person asks that question. Great way to start an LP. Peter Gardeau. Duncan Leese, great pop song. Roger and Little Ian are all over this. Still surprised that Blackmore sits this out. Mark Roback, love the drums and the organ solo. My only complaint is its overproduced effects. They kind of kill the vibe a bit. Kev Roberts, such an iconic track, but like a few others, such as Smoke, I've tired of it. Still can't help making it my 3rd favorite track on the album, though. Joe Sigler says, adore the opening of this with the keyboards, sound, and then Pacey's drum intro. I'm a sucker for a good drum intro. Gets me in the mood for the song, and once the vocals start, it doesn't let go until the song is over. Karsten says, classic DP. Stuart McCord, Ian Pace's performance on this track helped cement him early as my number one favorite rock drummer and biggest influence on my own playing. He's just sensational on this. Anders Engstrom, this was my favorite back when we bought the album in the 70s, but no longer. It's still a great track. Arthur Smith, love the intro. I remember this from school days when we were all trying to work out what the noise was. Love this song and never understood why we didn't hear it more live. Probably because they're just tired of bringing out that second bass drum. Lord Longford, love the song. Great album opener. Pacey going wild on the drums. Preferred when DP opened their sets with this. Raf Calf, great opener, up-tempo and rocking. Is it still the only double kick song for Pace? I know Scott Askin's going to have the answer for that. He's good for answering those questions. Yeah, so there you go, folks. Fireball. Scott says no. Hey, Cisco. I knew he would. I knew he would have one. But still, not a lot of double bass songs. Oh, all right. So should we thank our next level of patrons before we wrap up the album?
Thank those patrons.
Thank those patrons. All right. Those patrons are the foundation level patrons coming in at the £3 50 pence Deep Purple New York tier. We have Lord Longford. At the £3 aromatic fee tier, Simon Ford and Richard Brees. At the 293 pence tier, we have
Blackmore Tights.
At the $3.33 halfway to evil tier, Stephen Sharp and Duncan Leask.
Smoke on the water while you're in the sky.
Don't worry, Lucy. We'll get to that one in our next albums ranking episode. At the $3 Nobody's Perfect tier, we have Peter Gardeau. Ian DeRosier. Mark Roback. Stuart McCord. Ivan Fjellbu. Runar Simonsen. Ruinous Inadequacies. Corey Morissette. It's too much. I know I
love
saying
it. I love it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I lost my place. Sorry, Ashley. Weston Supermare Pilgrim. Joe Dopefish Sigler. Adam Cork. Tim Wood. Steve Down to Earth Kohler. At the $1.71 I Want My Own tier, we have
Rich Yangui Shaylor. Who the hell is that?
At the 10 DKK Cold Hard Danish Kroner tier, we have Karsten Lau.
Cold Hard Danish Kroner.
And at the $1 made-up name tier, we have The Strange Kind of Tombstone, Leaky Mausoleum, Stephen Somerville, The Concerto 1999 Fanatic, Hank the Tank, Private Eyes, Ashen Lionels, Whopper, The Electric Alchemist, Andres Engstrom, ICDC, Durple Purple, David Haddam, Graham Bonnet's Disco Pants and Haircuts.
I said, Graham, our audience expects you to be a bit more dirty.
Disco Pants and Haircuts, yeah.
I'm just going to put my guitar across his head.
Eddie Lyon.
Homosexual.
And our friend Sick Tone.
Where is she? Where is she? She's just about to close up the library.
Thank you so much to all of you for your support of the Deep Purple podcast. All right. So Fireball, John, closing thoughts?
Yeah. So I had thought about this. I had referenced this a while ago. I had this thought after listening to In Rock and then listening to this, which I had, listened to it front to back for a while. And, it really struck me after doing our In Rock rating show how they went from being really kind of proggy, very 60s sounding to just jumping right into being super heavy, just very aggressive right away from the production, the songs. It was just really raw. It was just this kind of plug and play sounding album, you know? And then, you know, you went from a lot of people, I feel they forget this album and then you skip right over to Machine Head, which sounds, you know, a lot more polished, you know. It's still great, still heavy, but not as raw as the first one. And this one is like kind of a mid ground, you know. It's like coming right off of In Rock. This album is almost kind of surprising because I'm like, wow, it's really melodic. It's really slowed down a lot because you have a lot of I mean, even Fireball, you know, is just this onslaught, but there's something about it that's not as heavy as like anything on In Rock, but it still is. You know what I mean? Like the production is kind of similar, but it's a little more polished. And then you just have kind of songs that are out of nowhere, like Anyone's Daughter. But if you just go track by track, all of these songs are just much more melodic. So this is kind of more like Deep Purple is like, all right, we got the metal, the early proto metal album out of our system. So now let's do some stuff that's really kind of like accessible, radio friendly stuff that you can hum, some stuff with some long sections where we can, have some, drawn out solos and just kind of, like feel ourselves, it's like, it was not anything like they did before because it was kind of like some of the stuff was longer, like No 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 and songs like that, but not to the extent of how they were like kind of proggy and went off into their own thing, like the first couple of Deep Purple albums, like the Mark I albums. So, yeah, I think this one is it's just kind of like this, like a middle ground. It's like a bridge from In Rock to Machine Head, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, I think that's why sometimes when we talk about it, we're like, oh, I kind of almost forgot about Fireball sometimes, It's like it's kind of overlooked, but it's like it's a really interesting album that way,
Yeah, it's just I think the overlooked nature, is just becoming between two huge albums. One that put them on the map and set the course, and then the other one that just was obviously their hugest album ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one to me still, it keeps that sort of muddy production of In Rock. And I don't say that in like a bad way. I love the way it sounds, but it's just not as slick as they would get to when they hit. As soon as they hit Machine Head, it's like Machine Head on. The production on all the albums is on a different level, and it could have been just because they were it was produced by Deep Purple, but it's really Martin Birch.
Yeah,
and he was young, and maybe probably it was a combination of being a young engineer working with the band, and probably the technology not having fully evolved yet, and not maybe having the equipment. But those two albums are a little bit on the muddy side, and then they never really go back there. It's always just some really great productions after that. But I find the sort of that muddy, I wish I had another word.
It's raw.
Muddy. Yeah, that raw sound, I find it charming, but I also understand that it's a mark of, it's slightly poorer produced than the other albums, and that's fine. It was also just a sign of the times. Albums in the very, very early 70s, tended to sound like that if you didn't have Beatles money.
Right.
Or Rolling Stones money, or whatever you want to say. But yeah, I this one was my early favorite album, and I like the, Scott mentioned the experimenting with recording techniques. They did some experimental stuff on this with some cool sounds without, Pink Floyd was doing lots of experimental stuff, but it went kind of way out there with lots of crazy synths and everything. This is still like straight what we're experimenting, but we still have the core band is what it is. Maybe we'll throw a shaker in there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's all the the instrumentation is just what it is, what you'd see on stage. They never really veered too much from what you could pull off live. Yeah, so great. I can't believe that we will be, next time we reconvene for one of these, we'll be doing the big one, Machine Head.
Oof, the big one.
A real tough one. It's going to be all over the place, probably be the most interesting as far as how tight all the songs are in their rankings and their scores.
I wonder where Smoke on the Water is going to wind up.
Yeah, that's it. I was thinking the same thing, because it's just like Highway Star, Smoke on the Water, Space Truck, and like it's where they could all be first, they could all be last.
Yeah,
it's such a, there's a couple songs on there that are, like I mentioned Never Before earlier. It's pretty much one of the only songs on there that's not remained a staple of their set through, so that one probably will come in last. But other than that, it's anyone's guess. It should be very interesting. All right. Well, John and the patrons, we will see you next. Well, we'll see you next week with an episode that we've already recorded. And we will
don't spoil our secrets.
Oh my goodness. What could it be? It could be anything. And then we'll of course be back in next time when we reconvene, either for a live episode or for our next album rankings. We'll be talking about Machine Head. So until then, folks, keep I feel like I need one of Mark Roback's sayings for the end of their show. Keep on trucking. Knowing and no one came. I don't know.
No, wait a minute. Give it a second. Mark might be coming up with something.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Oh my God, Kai Runa has been awake for 21 hours. My goodness, go to sleep.
Oh, thanks. All right, and thank you, Mark. Our closing remarks. Working.
I think he's working on closing remarks.
Dope.
Yeah, keep on firing that ball and. I don't know. All right, folks. We'll catch you next week.
If you like the Deep Purple podcast and would like to support the show, please consider joining our Patreon or donating on PayPal. Patrons get full access to the podcast, Discord server, ratings, spreadsheets, and live stream invites. You can also leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts to help new people discover the show. You can follow the show on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, or Threads. You can also check out the website at deeppurplepodcast.com for show notes and more. Contact us via email at John or Nate at deeppurplepodcast.com. Thanks for listening.